The time is now.
Hello. Welcome to NUFC Talk TV and the Eddie Benfica press conference. The mighty wind flying solo today, so anything could happen. Welcome one and all. Do the housekeeping first. Hit that like button. That's the main thing. Keep the channel growing. Get us up to 10K. And if you like what we do, subscribe to the channel and become a member. We're always looking for new members. Keeps we going. We've got some chat in already. Wijnaldum, Janesta, Wijnaldum, Boki is in the chat. Good afternoon, Boki. We will cross swords later this evening, no doubt. Interesting comments in the forum that we might get around to, but that's by the by for now. What are the questions going to be about when Eddie faces the press this afternoon? Are they going to be revolving around Saturday's performance, or are they going to be revolving around what's going to happen on Tuesday night? As you know, there's been massive criticism, overreaction, in my opinion, to a bad result, to a bad day at the office. And everybody's saying, yeah, but there's been bad days at the office all season. Well, all I can say is there have been reasons, very valid reasons, as to why we haven't hit the ground running and continue to run like we're in quicksand. Multiple reasons, and there is no magic bullet, and certainly sacking Eddie would not be a magic bullet for in my way of thinking. It would be a recipe for absolute chaos and disaster. Let's keep our powder dry, keep calm, and trust the process, and let's see where we get. The process so far has resulted in our first trophy for 70 years, which Keegan and his entertainers couldn't manage. It's resulted in 2 Champions Leagues in 4 years and a very unlucky not to finish in Europe in the intervening year. And that, if you remember, we were just devastated with injuries. And that, happy clapping. Indeed, I am happy clapping. And that was on the back of all those injuries. And this season appears to be going a bit the same way. As I was saying this afternoon, we are without our 2 England young, fantastic international fullback prospects. We were with a midfield that just didn't fire at all. The much vaunted centre-back duo played their worst game for us. And so there are a lot of reasons that things didn't go right on Saturday. And even then, we had Nick the Flick's piece of magic yet again. And let's just hard back, folks, hard back. Because I don't think things are as bad as they appear to be. Call me happy clapper, call me super optimistic. That's just the way I am. I've seen it all before, and no doubt we'll see it again. And if we get to Christmas, as I've said before, and we aren't within 3 points of the Champions League, then I'll start having my reservations the same as everyone else. But let's give Eddie a full deck of playing cards to play with and see how we get on. Ronaldo saying the bare minimum for me this season is top 4 or 5 in the league and a cup run. I will only question Eddie if we get knocked out of the cups early and don't have contact with the top four. And I think that's a very fair way to look at things. But right now, we are nowhere near panic mode, in my opinion. And a win tomorrow night puts us maybe even top 8, automatic qualification to the quarterfinals. So let's see what happens. We've got some match facts concerning the Benfica game. Newcastle and Benfica have met twice previously in European competitions, with those two meetings coming in the quarter-final of the 2012-13 UEFA Europa League, as it was then. And Benfica progressed 4-2 on aggregate after a 3-1 home win and a 1-1 draw at St James's Park. Benfica have only won one of their last 9 away games against English teams, drawn 3 and losing 5, going winless 4 on the trot since a 3-1 win at Tottenham Hotspur in 2014. Newcastle, after their 4-0 win at USG, will be looking to record consecutive wins in the Champions League for the first time since that memorable night by Leverkusen, who we again play this season, of course, and who will forget that game. Benfica are on a 4-game losing streak in the Champions League and have only once previously lost 5 consecutive matches. So you could argue that doesn't augur well for us, because they'll be creating their own little bit of history if they get beat tomorrow night, because that'll be 5 on the trot, and it's never happened to them before. Benfica manager Jose Mourinho has only won 3 of his 12 away games at St James's Park with all the clubs that he's been there with, and just one of the most recent 7. This will be his first game there as manager since a 2-2 draw in April against Steve Bruce's Newcastle, when we got the 2-2 draw against Tottenham. Quick slurp. Too much talking. Only Sturm Graz have played more European Cup Champions League home games without ever drawing than Newcastle. We don't do draws. We've played 13, won 6, lost 7, never drawn. The Magpies have lost each of the last 3 on home soil, however, which is their longest ever losing such run in the Champions League. So again, the history, if you go on, we've had all that nonsense on Saturday about Brighton being a bogey team and so on, that. But history becomes history by building up facts. So, let's hope that that's another fact that gets kicked into touch. Nick Voltemara scored his first UEFA Champions League start, scored in his first Champions League start against USG. And good old Nick the Flick is continuing to stick them in with, it has to be said, very little service. And that, for me, is one of the things that on Tuesday night we are going to have to really improve on. Getting that ball to Nick in those situations that he appears so far to do so well with. Chris is saying we need more happy clappers in the chat. Keep the fight alive. I'll take everybody on my own. I don't need any help, but any help would be gratefully accepted, because the overwhelming opinion, shall we say, in the forum is that Eddie's taken us as far as he can go. He's wasted all this money. I'd love to know which money he's wasted. But that's another thing. Let's have a look at the chat, see what we've got going here. There's a lot of good afternoons. Good afternoon to everybody. How Hell Cesar is insinuating that Borky lives in Hendon. I don't know whether he's talking about Hendon, Sunderland, like. Yeah, he might be, of course. My immediate Hendon thought is North London. But what you say, I live in Southern. Lovely view of the Stadium of Light from my bog window, says Borky. Gino says a bare minimum from. Oh, we've done that one, yeah. I agree with him. And Tony T, you're a happy clapper and super optimistic. You're right, Tony. I am. Call me whatever you want. Patience, a bit of time. That's exactly right. But how long must we wait is the cry. How long must we wait? Sam Taylor, you're spot on, mate. The fact that people are even considering sacking Eddie is laughable. I absolutely agree. If we win the next 3 home games, we'll be in such a strong position. Goes without saying, I think. All I hear is excuses, not answers, for only winning 2 Premier League since Chelsea last season. I want to hear why Eddie is now exempt from a team he built is worse than Sunderland, just promoted rival. Well, here's why, Ginger. Here's why. For a start, Sunderland, if you look at Sunderland's fixtures that they've had this season, it's probably the easiest start for any of, if you did the ratings way, it was the easiest start for any Prem club. And they outspent us. In real terms, they outspent us in the summer. So let's see what happens when Sunderland are without some of these players, half of whom, by the way, well, I mean, virtually none of them can I name yet. But half of them who are going to be, 7 of them are going to be away for AFCON. So good luck getting through that period. And whilst we may have outspent some teams, we certainly didn't outspend any of the usual suspects above us. We didn't outspend Liverpool, Middlesbrough, Liverpool, Man United. It's about the same as Middlesbrough they are now, incidentally, but never mind. But even Man United with that win yesterday has got them 4 points clear of us, which is why I really wanted a draw yesterday. But nonetheless, as I say, let's never judge a painting when it's half finished. Let's wait and see what happens when all the dust settles, when we get a few players back. And I know everybody's going to, you can't keep blaming injuries. Every team gets injuries. Every team doesn't get injuries, the likes of which we've had already this season, where prime signing, unavailable forever. 2 England fullbacks, unavailable. So we're having to make do and mend. There are reasons, is what I'm saying. And for to write those reasons off as nothing is, to me, totally unrealistic. So that's your answer, Ginger, I think. Stephen Field, we have the yeah, we do indeed have the Shimon Marianak, I think his name is, and he was the same ref and the same VAR official from the PSG away with that very, very dodgy penalty decision. But maybe he owes us a one. Maybe he'll take that into consideration. Here's hoping. Ginger again. Borky, it's all excuses. Managers are sacked based on results, not excuses. Big clubs find answers. Don't back managers who can't find answers. Newcastle is a mid-table club right now, and the wingers are crap. Right, here's the thing. the wingers are crap. I agree entirely, and one of the major problems that we've got at the minute is that our wingers are not playing well. I accept that. I don't accept that they're crap. Again, it'll be the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. We've seen by, for example, his performance for England on Tuesday that Anthony Gordon isn't crap. He's a very good winger. What we need him to do is transfer that England form into a black and white shirt. So that is one of the major problems all season has been that the wingers are not performing. And the argument has been put forward, maybe to a degree truthfully, that by playing Big Dan at left back, which, by the way, there's no alternative for that I've seen anybody come up with, other than maybe Kraft right back and put Tripp's left back. But then yes, you still got the same problem with Tripp's pace now. So I don't necessarily think that in itself would prevent the need for our left mid and left winger to be helping cover back. But as Gary so lucidly pointed out today, a lot of the problem was that the opposition fullbacks are creating the problems. So that is the wingers. It is the wingers' responsibility to occupy the attentions of the opposition fullbacks. And on too many occasions yesterday, they didn't do that. Now, you can't put that down to Dan Burn. It's his job's to mark his job was to nullify Minty, which by and large he did, as well as helping Botman out in the middle. But when you've got the overlapping fullbacks that Brighton had, that is the job of the midfield and the wingers to nullify, and that didn't happen sufficiently well. Porky, tell me what football is based on results or backing Eddie Howe cause. If it's not results, you're in this game for the wrong reason. No manager is untouchable with the Saudi owners. I completely agree with that. Every manager lives or dies by results. And right now, the results aren't going that great. It's up to Eddie to be able to turn that around. And if he can't, he will be gone. There's no doubt about that. But to talk about doing it right now after 8 games into a season is just crazy. We need more happy clappers in the chat. Keep the fight alive. Oh, got that. We've done that one here. Let's go. When you're wrong, Newcastle were 4th. We spent more money than City, Spurs, Man U. We spent 278 million euros. 278 million gross. And we recouped 130 million. So that means our squad was without a 130 million pound footballer that we had when we finished. And I think we finished 5th, not 4th anyway. So you should always take net spend. I like seeing the mental gymnastics, trying to take the blame off the centre halves and onto Burn. From the chat and other channels, it's good fun. Yeah. Well, Dan Burn will always be the whipping boy. He's big enough to take it. I'm sure he's not bothered by it. He knows he's doing a good job, and any neutral, objective observer will see he's doing a good job. Borky's saying, I've counted 10 excuses made so far, and not one time has Wynne had any complaints about Eddie. In terms of Saturday's game, I haven't got any. What complaints have you got about Eddie on Saturday? That's my point. I've regularly complained about Eddie's decisions before, in terms of his substitutions, lack of substitutions, timing of substitutions, and occasionally his initial lineup. But the only possible change that could have been on Saturday for me was, with a winger, you could have had Murphy in for Elanga. And, you know, who knows how that would have gone, but Elanga played poorly. Murphy played decently when he came on. So that aside, he could see things weren't going according to plan. So he made changes at half time, which he hasn't previously done. So is that him learning now? You know, you don't have to wait until the 60th, 70th minute to make changes, because he made the changes and we did get better. No doubt about that, such that we equalised and had the chance to go forward. Didn't happen because of individual errors all over the team. That's not Eddie. That's the players. And you can argue, you know, he's playing the way he's telling them to play. He's not telling them not to mark. No, Welbeck. Welbeck. He's not telling them not to mark Welbeck and let him run through. I think Eddie bottled rotation on Saturday. Well, again, now you're talking about the lineup. Would anyone seriously have not started with Tonali or Bruno or J7? If you wouldn't have, you know, it's all very well coming on after the event and saying you wouldn't have, that they were all tired or whatever, but it just doesn't stack up. If we'd won the game, nobody would be saying, why did we play them? As it happens, we didn't win the game. Geo284 saying, watch Elanga win the game for us on... I'm just going to have a quick check-in on the presser, see if anything's happening there yet. No. And of the Chronicle, because they generally start a bit beforehand. Give me 2 secs. Right, anyway, they haven't started yet. I like seeing the mental gymnastics. We've been results business. Football is results business. We clapped when Ange gets sacked. We have one win better off. I'm sure it's an Eddie Howe issue. I like the man, but his actions in-game and excuses after the match. Woogie saying, mate, at 11 excuses. I'm not sure which one I added. Murphy is our best winger and he doesn't get a start. It's a disgrace. Now, that is a perfectly valid argument to have. That could even be an argument for playing Murphy on the right and Elanga on the left and dropping Gordon. But you're not seriously telling me you would have dropped Gordon on Saturday after his performance for England on Tuesday? It would have been madness. Absolute madness. And anybody who says it wouldn't, I'm sorry, they just, they don't know what they're talking about. Gordon has been crap for us, though, and has been for a couple of seasons. He hasn't been brilliant. Absolutely not, Carl. And he looked on Saturday not to be getting any better particularly. And in fact, on Saturday, the one thing that you can never accuse Gordon of, which is he's tracking back in defensive contributions, they weren't even there so much on Saturday. So, yeah, Gordon rightly attracted criticism. Andy was substituted. And you could argue we improved when Barnes came on. which we often do. Barnes has been very effective from the bench. But Barnes, whenever he started, has been pants. He's been rubbish. Anybody tell me a game that Barnes started that he had a great 90 minutes in? Because I can't remember one. People were itching for him to get a run of games, and then when Gordon got sent off, he got that run of games, and he was rubbish. We are missing 3 players from a 25-man squad. 3. Absolute no excuse. So which 3 are you counting? And you're counting Hall, Livramento, Wissa. Is that the 3 you're talking about? Hunt Mags. Why is everyone mystified? The ex-Bournemouth and Burnley manager is building a drab football side that doesn't win often. Well, that ex-Bournemouth and Burnley manager has built the drab football side that won sufficiently to get us our first trophy in 7 years and into the Champions League 2 years out of 4. Trippier has more quality going forward than Burnley. He does indeed. I'm not going to argue with that. Been through these phases before, and Eddie always gets things lubed and clicking. Ooh. Patience is a supreme virtue. Keep the faith. Mighty might magpie. Hockey fans wanted Sir Bobby out for the same results. How can we hold Eddie Howe higher than one of the best managers ever to manage football? Well, if we want to go down that road, I was certainly one of them who at the end of his tenure at Newcastle wanted him out, as he'd proven to me that he'd lost the plot, but that's another story altogether. He should have taken the upstairs move that he was offered. And then we would, I think if he had have done that, we wouldn't then have been in the sad situation we were trying to replace him with donkeys. What was Loom clicking? Hell says, oh, it's not wet, it's soaked. Yeah. We are talking about the infamous bedwetters there, Hells. No win, it's Pope's fault. Porky said on another channel. Yeah, well, funnily enough, at the pub yesterday, there was a few kids saying Borky was to blame for that second goal, and I couldn't see it, but it was. We looked at it this afternoon, and you could argue he didn't dive quick enough, or he went the wrong way, or whatever. Anyway, hang on, the presser is starting. So we need to get in there. Eddie is in the desk, behind the desk. So give me 2 seconds, because this is all new to me. Right, he's... Right. Well, apparently we haven't got the feed yet. So we go back to the chat, and it will be a high bar for relegation this soon. We'll get them comfortable soon. No, I think you're right there, Pond, by the way, because I think the days of like 30, 32, 33 points being safe, I think that's out the window this season. And I also think the days of 90 and 100 point Champions League places is going out the window. I think, you're going to be anywhere in the mid-60s is going to be enough, which we are a long way off getting still, but there's still a lot of games to go. Hit the likes, please, says Jenny Ronaldo. Indeed, come on, hit the likes. How many we got? We've only got 59 out of 300 and odd watching. Come on, hit the likes, please. Tsunami Netherlands.
Hi, Craig. Hi, guys.
Okay, good afternoon. Welcome back to St James's Park ahead of tomorrow's match with Benfica. If you have a question for Eddie, please raise your hand and get my attention. We'll come to you in order. If the question's in Portuguese, please use the headsets provided for the simultaneous translation. Who wants to get us underway first? Keith?
Hi, Eddie, nice to see you.
You too, Keith?
Thanks, Mark. How the lads feeling after the weekend? I know you were disappointed with the first half performance. This game's come around really quickly, though. Does it give you an opportunity to make up for that?
Yeah, I think I said similar after the Arsenal game. We feel like we need another game. We're delighted to play quickly and try and build momentum back in our performance. I felt, reflecting on the Brighton game, was mixed. So a lot of good in the game. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. We lost the game, and we know we need to improve.
And how are you looking in terms of availability of players for this game? Notice there was no Sandro at training this morning. Is there an issue over him?
Yeah, a bit of illness with Sandro, so he'll be touch and go for the game.
I mean, to miss him, I guess, would be a huge blow. Will you give him every opportunity?
Yeah, we'll give him every opportunity. I think, he wasn't there, obviously, at training today, and he's such an important player. So, yeah, we'll use all the hours we have.
Actually, Nisha?
Hi Eddie, Jose Mourinho has been such an important figure in the Premier League. Have you followed his career post-Premier League, and how do you think he's evolved as a manager?
It's difficult when you're in work to do too much following of other people and clubs. I think he's someone that I hugely admire, having come up against him before in the Premier League, and I think as a younger coach, really admired the teams that he built at Chelsea in particular. I thought definitely a visionary, someone that broke the mould really in terms of how you manage and different ways to do things. And then following his success through different clubs, different leagues, incredible really what he's achieved in his career. So I think it's always a great opportunity for any club to go up against one of his teams. And yeah, looking forward to the challenge immensely, and I think it's going to be a great game.
I know you've had the international break, but you've had players that have travelled a long distance. You've had, a tough game at Brighton. You've got all these games coming up. Is there something about being under lights on a Tuesday evening with that crowd that could kind of give you that boost that perhaps the players might need to get going again after the break and after the Brighton game?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for us to use that as a stimulus. We love these games. I mean, the Barcelona game here was so close for us. It could have been a very, very different outcome. And it feels that we've been in that position a lot this season where the results could have gone either way. We've been very competitive. We were competitive that night. Has a similar type feel under lights here. The atmosphere will be electric, I've got no doubt. I hope our performance mirrors that crowd energy that we're going to get. And I think if we're at our very best, we have a good chance.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you. Damien Spellman?
Eddie, you had some early success in your meetings with Jose. What are your memories of those games over the years?
Yeah, just great games. I think any Premier League win, I always said to you guys, any Premier League win is savoured, regardless of where you are. It's so difficult to do it in the Premier League, and especially against, at that stage of my career, Chelsea were one of the strongest teams in the league, and I think some great wins for us at the time. Being Bournemouth manager gave us the belief that we could compete in the Premier League, and being a newly promoted team, you need every shot of confidence you can get. So yeah, I look back fondly with those games, but obviously this game's very different. It's it's a different kind of experience. We now, and said this before the previous Champions League game, we're desperate to qualify in the competition. We know the importance of our home games. So after the disappointment at Barcelona, we're looking forward to this one.
And just if Sandro doesn't make it, how important is it that people like Lewis Miley and Jacob Ramsey have, although limited, they have Champions League experience?
Yeah, they have Champions League experience, but they're also very, very good players. I think we've got a really strong midfield this year. So if one player is missing, it's an opportunity for a very good player to come in and grab theirs. So yeah, I thought both players did well when they came on Saturday.
Okay, we're going to Mark Douglas, then to Chris, please.
Eddie, it's been a strange sort of start to the season. How do you kind of assess it coming off the back of that Brighton game? Because you've probably deserved a little bit more than you've got from the season. Yeah,
Frustrating is the feeling, I think, because I think we're so close to being something more, or getting better results than we have. I think the team performances have been strong. I think we've been very good defensively, although there was a couple of lapses against Brighton. That's all it was that we got punished for. And we're working so hard to try and create chances, and I think the best sort of example of that is our goal. Our goal is a move from our goalkeeper to the finish. It's a brilliant goal, but that's a lot of work to get that goal, and I don't think our opponents worked as hard as we did. So, but you make your own luck, and you can only turn things your own way by doing the right things continually. So I don't think we're far away, and we've just got to keep to our beliefs.
Do you feel that the start of the European campaign, you maybe learned some of those lessons from last year? Because it feels like the teams, you're not having to rotate quite as much, and the team seem no fitness issues so far.
Yeah, I think, touch wood, I think fitness-wise we're pretty good. I think we've got a couple of, well, more than a couple. We've got 3 key players out injured at the moment, which, you know, the huge players for us will make a big difference. But you're going to get that throughout the season, so that's par for the course, really. But it's making sure that you're robust enough to withstand any players that aren't with you, and you can still win games. And as I say, I think we've been really strong in our performances, but we need the results to go with it.
Thank you. Chris Conway.
Eddie, there is the undoubted connection between Jose and Newcastle because of Sir Bobby Robson. Jose has spoken warmly about Newcastle United in the past. Is that a bit strange for you as a manager? Because most managers you come up against won't have that sort of warmth or affection towards a rival club.
I don't know if it's that different. I think I've heard Jose's words about Newcastle, and I absolutely sort of echo them myself. So I think it's, from everyone and connected with the club, I think great words about Sir Bobby and the role that he played in his career. I think that's really nice to hear. But I think the line sort of stops tomorrow when the game kicks off. We want to win. We're desperate for the points. It will be a competitive game between 2 great clubs. So, yeah, those words are nice to hear, but we're obviously desperate for the result.
Thank you. And just behind you, please, Chris.
Hi, Eddie. Right
Hi.
here. João Miguel Nunes for RTP Portugal. I would like to know if you see any favourite for this game, and also, how do you look to Mourinho's impact in Benfica? Do you think that right now is a stronger team with Mourinho?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yes, I'd say the characteristics that he has as a manager, his teams are very hard to beat. His teams are incredibly well organised. I think we'll see all of those things on the pitch tomorrow. I think he has a way of inspiring his teams to be very, very good off the ball. They're very disciplined in the games that I've seen since he's taken over as manager. There's highlights there against Chelsea. I thought they were very close to getting a great result. It was a really tight game, and we know it's a difficult place to go. And the game against Porto was equally, really tight. There was a very good defensive performance from his Benfica team. So I think we know what to expect, and it's going to be up to us to try and influence our players and deliver the game plan that we want.
Thank you. Lee Ryder, then George Colkin, please.
Eddie, I think Jose coined the phrase park the bus when he was at Chelsea. He could bring his team here to do something similar, given their last league game was away at Porto, and they made it very difficult in a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, it was a 0-0 draw, but it wasn't I don't like the phrase, to be honest, but it wasn't a park in the bus performance. It was a disciplined defensive performance, but they were very much an attacking threat in the game as well, especially in the second half. So I think that regardless of what tactical plan they deliver, I know they'll have attacking threats and ones that we're going to have to manage and defend very well. So we're under no illusions. It's going to be tactically an interesting game, a difficult challenge for us, but one that hopefully we can rise to.
And the home crowd, our crowd, has been spoken about in the Portuguese media as well, how important that's going to be. I mean, you know that anyway, obviously, but again, how important will that be on a Champions League night under the lights?
For me, it's one of the defining things. It's not the defining thing. You know, the defining thing will be our performance and how well we attack and how well we deliver, our on the ball way of playing, and of course how we defend as well. You know, we're going to have to defend well in the game too, but the crowd can inspire us and it can make the difference. And when it's a tight game, you're banking on that as the home crowd to try and swing the game your way.
Thank you. Going to George, then Luke, and then to Craig Hall, please.
Hi, Eddie. Just to kind of follow up on Mark's question, there's obviously kind of been a huge outgoing in the summer and lots of incomings. Does any part of you suspect or fear or think that this may end up being a more transitional season than you would ideally like? And can you afford a transitional season?
Yeah, there's quite a bit to that question. Yeah, I think whenever you bring players in and you lose players, that in a sense brings the word transition, because you're losing players and you're adding players to your squad. Hopefully we've got the balance right between, you know, not losing our identity, not losing how we play. And I don't think we have. I think when you look at us play, I think you can clearly see a Newcastle team and what we're trying to do. The effort's there, the commitment's there. Sometimes we haven't played with enough quality. I think that was evident against Brighton. But I think as long as we see the heart and endeavour and the attitude that we've always seen for the last 4 years, I think we'll get consistent results again. But there's no doubt when you lose key players, there is an element of finding a new way of doing things and getting attuned to the new players. And I do think there's an element of that in our performances too.
Luke?
Would you label Jose Mourinho as one of the all-time great Premier League managers?
I think you have to. I think look what he did. And I'm not saying that because we're up against him tomorrow. I genuinely believe it. I think he's, as I said, when he came in initially, the impact he made was incredible, really. I think he had an aura around him and his teams, very difficult to beat. So, yeah, I took a lot from watching his teams in my very early days, in my days when I was looking to sort of mould how I wanted to play and what I was thinking about coaching-wise. Definitely had a big impact on that.
Just one on your attacking game this season. It's fair to say it hasn't quite clicked. Is that down to the wingers more than Nick?
No, it's down to the team. Certainly, you know, Nick's more than played his part. He's helped us incredibly since he's come in, and I think we're very, very pleased with him. I think the team can do more. I think, of course, the wingers can do more. Our creative midfielders can do more. Our fullbacks can do more. You know, they've been, when you look at our fullbacks, they've been an incredible creative source for us for a long time. So we need goals from set plays, more goals from corners, more goals from free kicks, so that there's a never-ending list of ways you can score goals, and it only takes one to win a game if you're defending as well as we have done. So food for thought for all of us, really connected with the team.
Thanks, Luke. Craig?
Hi, Eddie. It's a similar theme, really. And on the wide men in the modern game, they are such a rich source of goals and assists. In the Premier League, your four wingers between them have got no goals and one assist this season. Have you sat down with them? Have you taken them into a room, showed them videos as a quartet to try and get that sort of group responsibility, if you like?
Yeah, we have meetings with them all the time, individually, unit, team. So we're constantly working on all phases of our game, and the attacking side will be no different to all the other areas of the team that you need to function to get a positive result. There is an onus and a responsibility in all the attacking players to contribute, but as I say, sometimes the problem doesn't always exist with sort of what you're directly looking at. There can be another reason behind it. So it's giving everyone accountability in the team, me included, to try and find a solution.
Just to pick out one of those players, because obviously he came in this summer for a lot of money, Anthony Elanga. Where is he at? Is it more a confidence issue than a technical issue right now, would you say?
I think Anthony is he's an outstanding player. I've got no doubt on his long-term qualities for the team. I think there's a settling-in period for him that he's going through. He's having to make slight adjustments to his game. But I think, again, when you look back at if you put a highlight reel of what he's delivered, albeit no necessarily direct goal outputs, that's not all down to his contribution. He's put in some great crosses. We should have scored from some of them. But I think he's got a lot more to give, and I think he will give a lot more in the future. So I've got no doubts about his success here.
Okay, we're almost out of time. We'll take one more just from Kieran, please.
Have you sensed that there's a desire to really put right what happened at Brighton? There isn't a hangover?
Well, I think, of course. I mean, I think that drives you every day. I mean, the Brighton game was such a disappointment because when we equalised, felt like we're the team that was going to go on and win the game. We had the momentum, we had the territorial supremacy. We were aggressive from front foot in that moment in the game, and yeah, we conceded from an attack really that we shouldn't have done in that moment. And of course, with such little time then to give ourselves an opportunity to get an equaliser, we still had 3 or 4 opportunities that another day you'd bank us to take. So that was a painful end to the game and a painful defeat, but that's what you have another game around the corner for, and we're looking forward to this one.
Have you seen parallels with previous seasons? Maybe Newcastle haven't always made, clocked up loads of points in the first 8 games. Do you think there's a reason behind maybe a slower start? Or?
No, I think last year, casting my mind back, was a particularly slow start in terms of our performances. I don't think we had more points maybe than we had deserved last year. I think it's flipped round this year. I think we had less points than we deserve, which is equally as painful as the other way, because the other way you're sort of doubting the long-term ability of the team, even though you're picking up points. Whereas I think part of my job at the moment is, because we're playing strongly in the games, is to back the team, know that in my experience I think we'll come good and we will be able to put a run of wins together, which is really what we need in the Premier League. And of course the Champions League, we're so early in the format, but we can't wait too long before trying to hit that winning run as well.
Okay, thanks everybody. Sorry to anyone who missed out. We're out of time, but Nick Pope will be with you very shortly. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.
There we go now. We're waiting for the player. I'm not sure who it's going to be today, but the format is that we get one more player. So meanwhile, let's have a quick look at what he said. He said Sandro has got an illness and it's touch and go, but that he is obviously a very important player for us. However, one player's misfortune gives other players the chance to shine. So and he's on about Miley and Ramsey. Both did well, he said, when they came on against Brighton, and they've both got UCL experience, so he's not that worried. I would be if Tonali isn't available. I think maybe he will be available. That's by the by. Let's have a look at some of the start chats here. We've got Win. I don't hate any fan, but my granddad told me if a manager keeps making the same mistakes, and now we've seen Eddie make the same bad results each season for 2 seasons, so now I'm a results man. Well, these bad results you're talking about, as I say, the bad results for 2 seasons, the bad results last season got us into the Champions League and won us our first trophy. That's how bad those results were. Elanga's a total dud. Watched him a lot with Forest last season. Has 0 football IQ. There is not a lot of evidence to deny that fact since he's been playing for Newcastle. Pure and simple, he hasn't been very good. He's been poor. He played well against Barcelona. You've got to remember that. He had a very good game against Barcelona. Could it be that continental sides are more his cup of tea? We'll see. But personally, I would be starting Murphy on Tuesday and maybe giving him a shout from the bench, because as somebody mentions in the chat, Murphy is still recovering from that Achilles problem that he had. Thanks to Eddie, we will be missing Tonali tomorrow. He should never have played on Saturday. Yeah, 2020 hindsight, wonderful thing. We're asking this with no bias. Eddie Howe has Eddie Howe gone as far as he can? Is 5th all he can get? Now, cause for progression's sake, so we may have to move on to a better manager like Mancini. Well, what has Mancini done since leaving a bottomless chest at Man City? Answers on a postcard, please.
Body feels really good, so yeah, I feel like I've built well off a good pre-season, and yeah, happy with where I am.
Have you done anything differently? Because obviously you had that serious injury, didn't you, just about a year or so ago? Have you done anything differently to get yourself back to the strong position that you're in right now?
I think I've really concentrated on my training and the work I do with the goalkeeper coaches, and just day in, day out, really kind of focusing on myself and my game, and just honing them skills.
We'll go to Nisha, then to Lee Ryder.
Hi Nick, just following on from what Keith was saying there, do you still have those England ambitions?
Yeah, I think that's something that's always at the back of your mind as an England player with a World Cup year, but Newcastle at the minute comes first, and without Newcastle there's no talk of England. So yeah, it's something that's just will always be, or is at the back of my mind, and until you get close to the summer, I'd say.
The team has struggled for consistency so far this season. What do you think has perhaps been like a major factor in that? Is it the comings and goings? Is it the schedule? Why hasn't it quite come together just yet?
Probably a mix of things, to be honest. Like I say, I think we're really small margins away from being in a better position in both competitions, and that is football. You've got to really kind of work hard to get on the right side of them small margins. So yeah, I think we keep doing the right things, that we'll get there eventually.
And just finally, on the back of a defeat at Brighton, there's no better way to put things right than playing under the lights at St James's in the Champions League on a Tuesday night. I guess you lot probably just can't wait to get back out there. Yeah,
of course. Something we speak about within the group is the atmospheres that the home Champions League games bring, and the experiences we've had over the last couple of years. So yeah, a real special night ahead, and yeah, a game that always look forward to.
Go to Lee Ryder, then to Joe Buck, please.
Nick, you already said in the summer you wanted to finish your career here. It sounds like something's been triggered in your contract. How happy are you about that situation?
Tough to say, because I signed that in July 2023. So I was really happy about it then, and yeah, I'll say my contract's up in what does that make it? July 27. But yeah, of course, I look forward to spending as long as I can here.
And obviously you've been here since the start of the takeover pretty much. How pleased are you with the progress made around the whole club? You've been right in the middle of all that.
Yeah, of course. Feel like kind of ever evolving, every transfer window, every few months, whether that's players, new bits around the training ground, just ourselves as a team. I think we've evolved over that time, and yeah, it's been great to be a part of it. And you want to be part of it moving forward. Really feel like we've got that first trophy under our belt now, and we've qualified for the Champions League twice, and you kind of looking to kind of do that back to back, and can you achieve more and get to knockout games and win knockout games? So yeah, I think I've had some big moments in the last 3 years, and that's kind of you strive for more of them.
Go to Joe Buck, then to Dom Shaw.
Hi Nick, Aaron Ramsdale came to the club obviously in the summer. How was the relationship between you two developing? You both obviously want to play football on a regular basis.
Yeah, really good, really well. Obviously known Aaron for a few years and trained with him with England at different stages. So yeah, really enjoyed having him as part of the group, and definitely strengthens us as a squad and as a goalkeeping unit. So yeah, it's been great to have him and his character in the group.
And someone else that came to the club in the summer, Malik Chow. What have you made of his start to life, and how do you, as a goalkeeper, how confident are you with him ahead of you?
Yeah, really enjoyed playing with Malik. Obviously, certain things you do in training together and certain things you can't do. So you kind of learn on the job, and you get used to experiences with each other when it's kind of a goalkeeper centre half relationship. So yeah, I really enjoyed playing with him, and then you can definitely say he's hit the ground running. He looks like a top player.
Dom, then Craig Hope after that, please.
Hi Nick, can you just talk about the frustrations and difficulties of the injuries in the last couple of seasons?
For myself, Yeah, of course. Something that no player wants, and if you could snap your fingers and say that your career will be full of injury free and full of health, you bite someone's hands off. That's just not the way it goes. There's setbacks and things you don't really plan for, but just really important how you kind of come through them difficult parts of your career. And I've been lucky to have good people around me, good physios and sports scientists, and the lads as well. We've got great characters in the group. So I think although you kind of go through them things as an individual, I really feel everyone's helped me out.
And obviously Jose Mourinho in the opposition dugout tomorrow. What do you remember as a football fan of Jose's impact when he first came to England?
Yeah, I remember his Chelsea team letting in about 15 goals in a season. So I think as a goalie that always sticks out. And obviously, coming in and winning straight away really, and doing it with a certain style, and it was a certain charisma, and someone that as a football fan you probably don't forget that sort of spell that he kind of had at Chelsea.
Craig, then Martin, then Chris, please.
Hi, Nick. There's a feeling as it stands at the moment that you probably are England's fourth choice goalkeeper. Have you spoken to Thomas about that, and if so, what has he said?
Spoke to him, trying to be right here, when he took over, or soon after he took over the job, and then I've been in kind of regular contact with Hilario. I feel like the communication's been really good. Really enjoyed kind of having the opportunity to speak to him and to kind of speak to Hilario on a pretty regular basis. So I feel like I'm in the frame, if you like, and it's something that's not dead. So that's always nice to have in the back of your mind.
During those conversations, do you present your case? Do you say, like, listen, I'm playing really well?
Please pick me. No, I think it's always best to let your football do the talking and try and keep the ball out of the net. I think that's always going to stand you in the best stead. Hopefully Dan Burns putting in a good word as well.
Martin?
Hi, Nick. Just on that theme there, is it still a dream to make that World Cup squad?
Yeah, of course. I've been to 2 already. I think a third in America would be pretty special at my age. There's not many opportunities to come. So, if I get to the World Cup, that'd be something that, it'd be a good achievement for myself.
And in terms of Newcastle, there's been good performances against the likes of Barcelona and AC Milan in the Champions League, but it's a run of results without victories. Is it essential to progress that you start winning these home games in this competition?
Of course. I think something. I think we wanted to take more advantage of a couple of years ago was the home games after the Paris one. So, I think any team at St James's Park, you want to kind of take the game to them and have a positive result. So, that's something we'll look to continue with.
Chris, then Kieran, please.
Hi, Nick. You were kind of listing the achievements since the takeover before, obviously the trophy being a big one, regular sort of playing in the Champions League. As a group of players to kind of kick the club on, how important is it that it's no longer just about taking part in the Champions League, that you kind of progress into the later stages?
Of course, it's something that this football club's not done in a long time. So that's a big ambition for the group. We've got a top team, top manager, and top teams get into the later stages of the Champions League, and everyone wants to be a part of that. So although we've qualified for the Champions League, and when we stood on the pitch last day against Everton and we've been beat, we'd have snapped your hand off for that, believe you me. So now we're in it. Still got a top squad, a bit more experience than we were first time around. Looking to take it to the next level.
And is there a confidence there that you kind of amongst the team that you can do that?
Yeah, definitely. I think first time around, like I say, we didn't have loads of Champions League appearances in the group, if you like. So I think now we've kind of got that as a squad and as a team, and as a city, I think that is something that can help us to progress this time around.
Kieran?
Hi, Nick. In the summer, we saw the club were looking at bringing in an additional goalkeeper on a permanent basis. They obviously got Aaron in on loan. Has that driven you on at all?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you're at a club like Newcastle now, you know, the squad is always going to evolve and look to get stronger in every position. And so as a player, you know, you got to push yourself to the absolute maximum you can to, you know, earn the right to play for the club, you know. So, yeah, it's something that I've tried to do my whole career, whether that's, you know, League Two, Conference, you know, you always want to play at the next level. And then when you get to, you know, Champions League, England, you want to play more games to them. You want to play at a better level against better opponents. You want to, you know, be a big part of the team, if you like. So that's something that, yeah, it's definitely always been a thing for me.
Keith?
Sorry, Nick, I didn't want to ask this as the first question. How does it feel to not be the only big Nick at the football club?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, to be fair. I think he carries it better than me. Yeah, I think he's been a joy to have at the club, you know, on the pitch, but off it also a great character within the dressing room, and yeah, it's great to see him scoring goals.
Who's taller?
I think me and him are pretty close, and Big Dan edges it, I think.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Out England and Ramsdale's effect coming in. What's that? And he's saying, you know, you've got to earn the right to play. He's saying that the team has definitely evolved in his time at the club and is still evolving. And again, he said, any big club, you've got to expect them to bring in improvements, which means you've got to improve your game to earn the right to play. Anything that will earn there? No. Any chance of Ramsdale starting tomorrow night? I would say probably not. Is Nick's, but the other one, quite a funny one from Keith Downey. What's it like not to be the only big Nick now? Which he laughed off and said, nice to share the burden. But he did confess that the other big Nick was doing rather better than he was. Where do we go from there? The chat. Unbeknown to me, and I haven't even voted in it, by the way, is Chris has put up a poll for Happy Clappers v Bedwetters, and the Happy Clappers, I am pleased to say, have won it by 72% to 28%. Not sure quite how many votes were in that, but mine wasn't there. So, and I think actually, talking as you do, 97 votes, I'm just getting to the 97 votes in for, so that's it, almost straight percentage, 72% Happy Clappers and 28% Bedwetters. So there you go. And that maybe is more Bedwetters than I encounter in real life, as opposed to on social media. Brandt is saying, who's going to admit they're a bedwetter? Get out of here, man. A stupid pool. But whatever. It is what it is. I think effectively what you could say that poll was, are you backing Eddie or do you want him out? And I think there it's 72% backing him, 28% want him out. Let's go through a few more of your chats here. But no, we've done that one. Wait a minute. Where are that starting here? These are good. We spent 55 million on a downgrade for Murphy, and that's absolutely could be argued right now. And Thomas Cloak is saying, isn't it bad when Murphy is your best winger? Well, I don't know necessarily that it's bad. If you look at his numbers, you know, his numbers are good. And to Nut is saying Murphy would be on my first team sheet every week. And I'm more and more inclined to agree with that. Whereas initially I was certainly a one for giving Elanga a chance. But I think he's had those chances now. And sadly hasn't performed. So that, as I say, remains to be seen. Ginger saying, Winman, Gordon's job is to assist and score. It's a fact in a front three. It's their responsibility for goals and creation. And I agree with that as well. And I've said all along, a winger is judged on goals and assists. Yes, you want the work rate and everything that goes with that, especially with the way Eddie plays with a press. But the bottom line is they've got to score and they've got to assist. And Gordon, right now, is not doing that. And then we've got some various contradicting chats. I want Miley in the team, me. Look at Anderson, never really played, went away, and his class. Another Miley. Look at the way Miley played in the Champions League. But we've got another one saying Miley isn't all that. and people are expecting too much from him. Need to stop being hypnotised by the Carabao Cup win. We are miles off the UCL challengers this season after spending 250 million. Well, out of that 250 million, we spent 150 million of it replacing Isaac. And we didn't have the use of them for half the games we've played so far. So, and then you look at how much the opposition have spent, and we haven't spent any more than them. By and large, we've spent a lot less than them. And look what they are doing. Mark Taylor wanted Bobby out, but what happened next? Souness et al. And a long decline. And that is the point, you see. History teaches you things. It taught me things. Yeah, yes, I did want Bobby out, and once he was kicked out, it was a disaster after that. So be careful what you wish for. Just to get up to date now, they were all, while the presser was going on, come down for the last few minutes, and let's see what we've got here. Paul Momo, class to me is the way Eddie has respect for every team, does his research on every game, and always speaks well. He can only work with what he's got and not rush ahead, one game at a time. Aaron Dan Byrne isn't a creator and doesn't have the pace to get up and down. Again, the fingers pointed at Big Dan. Good guy, needs good results though. Yeah, and as we've said a million times, football is results based. Just need goals once it clicks again. Yeah. That's where I am. Ian Fleming, hit the guys. 500 watching. We've got the 100 now, thank you, but we're going to do with a few more. Go and see if we can get to 150. Gino, Stephen, yes, true. Trippier used to bomb up and down in the past. I think Murphy and Elanga ignoring his runs make him just stay back. Well, I've said I think it's the opposite. I think sometimes Elanga has made the runs and hasn't been picked out by Trips, who's decided to go inside instead. And so Elanga then stops making the run. Then when Trips has been looking for the run, he hasn't made it. And that chemistry isn't there yet. Hopefully it will come. Where are we going? Jody Dan, Craig going in with some proper questions. As always, he gets a lot of stick off various people on here. Isaac was on 2 goals by the end of last October and he played every game. Voltemada is on 4 and missed the first 3. We are not losing games because Isaac is missing. Yeah, because what you're saying there, by the end of October, if you remember last season, we were actually getting results that we didn't deserve last season. Whereas this season, we're not getting results that we may have deserved. And that is because last season, for 2.5 years now, our whole attacking ethos has been designed around providing Isaac with chances. Nobody else, Isaac. And that's now, as it rightly should, is evolving. There should be a... Oh, well, worry. That's already happened. Come on, guys, get to 150 likes. Win gets a double helping of pudding in the care home if we get there. Bogey. We aren't winning because we're not playing well, and other teams have figured out our system and the way certain guys play within the said system. I'm not even disputing that, Brant. But that's something that's going to have to be sorted. And I trust that it will be. You don't. Just cooking a Chinese onion and mushroom curry to pour over chips, be fish and chips. Well, thanks for sharing that, Stephen Hawker. Brant again, Wissa is not Messi, by the way. No, but he would be finishing more chances than he misses. Definitely could do with a couple of systems, I agree there, like. When he said Nick Pope, well, that's far back. This is what happens when you don't keep up with the comments, you see. We had goals from Gordon, Big Joe, and some more already last season when we haven't had this season, hence why I'm worried, to be honest. Well, we have had a Gordon goal now. I know we didn't play well, but we were winning last year. That's absolutely right. Elanga's a good player, he's just adjusting. You don't come through them in your academy if you're poor. Well, that's what we were all hoping, but as was previously commented on, right now it looks like we've paid £55 million for an inferior product to what we had already. Needs a technical player to come in the right wing spot to break teams down, yeah? Because Elanga, by and large, so far, appears to be pace, and that is it. But Peter NUFC, I'm not worried, me. I've still got lots of positives at our club. New name, Benel Medluli. Welcome, Benel. Pope being out of the team propelled us into the Champions League, but Eddie will just play him always. I don't know that you could correlate the nine-win streak with Pope being out the team, by the way. I need to check that out, but I'm pretty sure he played in 7 of them at least. Tony T. So now it's Howe's fault for his illness. Exactly, yeah. And don't really want to be talking about how good your keeper is making saves, though. We all know saying Pope is playing well only means he's making good saves, not really what you want. Well, but the point is that for all Pope gets criticised for his kicking, he is. I mean, on Saturday again, he made one particularly fine save that a lot of keepers wouldn't have made. Can't be 70% happy clappers in the chat, otherwise Win would be on at least 180 likes. You're trying hard there for us, Pokey. You're trying hard. Kim Calm. We will not compete at the top with Eddie Howe, but PIF needs to keep the club together and stability for their money. And what's Queenie got to say? Keep it friendly. Everyone has an opinion, even as a fan, which they are entitled to voice. Just keep it friendly and respectful to everyone in the chat. I haven't noticed anything particularly bad. In fairness, Dubravka and Canal came into the team at the same time in December. That's right. And that's the whole point, that was when Tonali came back from his ban and wasn't played straight away, much to a lot of people's discontent at the time. But that was when Longy was playing. And Ian Fleming, you're entitled to your opinion, mate, just like others are entitled to theirs. Don't abuse them for having a different one. Absolutely spot on. This channel is all about opinions. And the beauty of football is those very opinions. And we love you all for having them. Don't forget, we're back tonight at 8 o'clock. When, if we are bottom half come the end of December, are you sacking Howe? If I've already said, if we are more than 6 points away from Champions League after the December fixtures, and assuming that we haven't had, let's assume we get some of these players back who've been injured. Yes, then I will be questioning Eddie Howe, without a doubt. Football is results-based, and, Eddie Howe, I'm sure, accepts that. I don't think there's a problem with that, but I just think it's pant-dropping time far too early. Let's get the squad together. Let's get Voldemort properly integrated into the side. Let's hopefully get Wissa back up and running and firing, and then see where we go from there. If we find out then that even with them two in the team, with Ramsey back fit, with our fullbacks fit, albeit given another, an occasional injury here and there, we've got the January window to replace anybody that happens to be seriously injured. We've got money in the kitty. So that is the time that I will start seriously questioning Eddie Howe. Until then, I'm quite happy with the progress that we're making, albeit that this season it hasn't been stellar, shall we say. In fact, it's been pretty poor. And I think most people will accept that. But as I say, there have been at least 11 excuses, according to Borky, why that's happened. Let's come on. Most of the problems are PIF origins, not our manager. They do not have a practical vision, investment, but silly dream. Well, I would certainly lay the transfer window partially at the door of PIF for not having a CEO and DOF in place for the start of the window when we've known that Darren Eales was effectively out of action for nearly a year. And it had been made clear in the last game, after the last game of the season, that Paul Mitchell was on his way out. Now, it turns out we've ended up paying 8 million compensation by all accounts for Ross Wilson from Forest. If we'd agreed to pay that 8 million back in August, could we have had him here for the start of the window? Certainly before the start of the season, because that to me was the problem. And Borky and I have had many an argument about whose fault it. He wants to lay the blame at Eddie and Andy Howe's door, and I'll lay the blame firmly for that at the door of PIF for not having negotiators in place at the time. Aaron is saying, I'd honestly start Barnes ahead of Gordon tomorrow. Done absolutely nout against Brighton and all season. Yeah, but neither did Barnes. When Gordon was banned, Barnes came in and did absolutely nothing. He was the worst player on the pitch in 2 of the 3 games. But you get your best out of Barnes, as we did on Saturday, when he comes off the bench. Now, don't ask me why that is. Don't ask me why it should be, but it's a fact and has been a trait of Barnes in my eyes since he came here. He's much better coming on as an impact sub than he is from the start. Waldo is saying sacking way over the top this season. He gets at least till the end of the season from most of the fans. Well, as I say, certainly talking to all the fans that I speak to on match days, especially at the ground, and Chris goes on and on about, that not being a big enough sample. But I do not know anyone in my circle at all who is even thinking about Eddie out right now. Not one. There's lots of concerns, the same as I've got concerns, but certainly nowhere near Eddie out just yet. Anyway, folks, it's now 5:20, and we're back on at 8 o'clock, so I'm going to call it a day there. Thanks for everybody in the chat. If you haven't already, hit the like. We've got, we're 6 short of 150. Howe, another 6 likes. Get us to that 150. And we'll see you all back at 8 o'clock tonight when we will have more of the same. It'll be me and Bokey going head to head. So we'll see how that one works out and look forward to seeing you then. And how are the lads?